Yeah, it is. All right. Can you see me? All right, cool. So, um, now what I wanted to talk about today is Penguin. So, it's the new show on HBO Max, and I'll talk about this. Yeah. Okay. So, hold on. I'm gonna reshare here in just a second. Oops, wrong one. Oh, okay. All right. Can you see the screen? You can see Collin Farrell. All right. And let's see if I can make this work here. Okay. Let me just pull this off here.
For my new season, Penguin.
Trust me, it's just the beginning. Come on.
Oops.
You can't help it. Life is just a dream.
You promised me, Oswald.
I know, man.
I deserve a better life.
I'm working on it. World ain't set up for the honest man to succeed. That should be the American dream right there. You know, beautiful story with a happy ending. But that ain't the way the world works. America's a hustle. Not that I'm complaining.
Penguin, you waltzing in here like you mean something. We're in the middle of a gang war.
Carmine Falcone's dead.
If we don't protect what's ours, we just look weak. The streets are talking again. They know there's only one man big enough to run this city.
Do you remember Carmine's door?
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sophia, I thought you was still at,
Arkham? No. I've been rehabilitated.
You're playing a dangerous game with his family on. You think I want Sophia Falcone knocking on my door?
She is the hangman.
What is it you're really after, Oz?
Gonna tear down the empire from the inside out.
whoever controls the drug business controls the streets.
I'll be running the whole damn trade.
I got ambition. I can help you. Hey! Feel alive, Vic, huh? Feel your heart beating?
The city is meant to be yours, sweetheart. What are you gonna do to get it?
Trust me. It's just the beginning.
All right, so there you go. That's the trailer certainly to Penguin. The thing that I found fascinating, excuse me, about the show is that if anybody's a fan of The Sopranos, it is like he's legitimately like the second coming of Tony Soprano, and because it's an organized crime show. Like, and what's awesome about it is if you've seen the show or if you've seen the movie the Batman, it's directed by Matt Reeves, who's the same guy who's directing this entire series of the Penguin, right? So where you end up with it is that right at the end of the Batman, you've got the guy that plays Joker blows like the entire seawall and kind of floods Gotham City, right? And so this picks up right where that left off, and it's actually a fascinating story. And now one of the things that I would say that works really well is it looks exactly like the Batman. I mean, it falls right into that same category of exactly where they were. Now, the thing that I'll say about some of the visual effects in it is that for the most part, it looks really good. Sorry about my voice here. Hang on a second. Yeah, for the most part, it looks really, really good. And the world building that they do in it is outstanding. But there are a couple of moments in there where the Penguin, who is actually played brilliantly by Collin Farrell, the guy, like, it's really hard to believe that this guy here is the Penguin, and because the amount of makeup that they do to make him work is fantastic. You look at the change right here. I mean, you can't believe it's the same guy, but it's like he does a really, really great job embodying it, and you can't really tell that it's Collin Farrell. I mean, unless you knew. But now, getting to the visual effects side of this whole thing, there's a couple of moments in there where you look at it and you go, yeah, that those shots really needed a little bit more time. Like there's a couple of shots where he's with this kid, and they're dumping a body into the back trunk of a car, and so they're kind of in this like abandoned lot, and then it's kind of surrounded by buildings, and I'm looking at it going, yeah, that looks really, really like it was shot on a green screen. For as much as they were trying to fix it, it really looked very green screeny, and it needed another couple of passes to make it work. But that was okay. I mean, you can forgive some that are never perfect. So, and then there were a couple of other shots where it looked like they had actually shot it on the street, and it looked like it was shot at night, but then they replaced huge sections of the street, and then they put in some lens flares there to make it look like it was shot during the day. But not that bad, honestly. I was pretty impressed with how they did it. I mean, it's certainly a high budget show, but they get deep into his character, and I'm actually looking forward to where they go with it. Like, you kind of do you guys, either you guys know what makes him kind of waddle as a character? I don't know, Juan, do you know? No. He's got a club foot. Like, so he had some weird, like, either birth defect or something like that. And so there's a point where he takes his shoe off, and you see this like totally mangled foot, and you go, oh, that's really interesting. Like you have it, like it kind of really adds a lot to the backstory of him as a character. So it was interesting, and he's got this really interesting relationship with his mother, which and she's pretty devious on her own. But have either of you ever watched The Sopranos? Okay. If The Sopranos is a huge psychology show. It really is, because of all the time that Tony spends sitting there talking with his psychologist. Literally, all he's doing the entire series is he's processing his mother, he's processing his father, and he's processing his Uncle June. Those are the three characters, like the three most important people that he's processing. And you start to really realize what a crazy relationship that Tony has with his mom. They've done a great job in The Penguin of establishing something really, really similar with him. And so it's a fascinating show, honestly. I'm looking at it, and it's like, okay, that's really cool. What's also really fascinating too is the fact that he doesn't start as like some top tier mob boss, because he's not. He's a total mid-level guy who kind of sort of figures out a way to take advantage of some things that have happened as a result of what Batman did with the Joker and certain things that are happening as part of that storyline. But what's fascinating is that he drives this purple Maserati, and it's like this crazy bit of flash for a guy that really doesn't have a lot of money, if that makes sense. And so it's. I mean, I would have to say I liked it way more than I expected that I was going to, because there are just some really cool thematic elements to it that are like, that's great storytelling. I'll be interested to see how the visual effects turn out over the course of time. But yeah, it's certainly worth a watch. I mean, Colin Farrell he's fantastic in it. I never would have expected him to take on a role like that, and for him to do it so well, because you look at him too, like, he's a thin guy. I mean, he is not, I mean, if he's over 160 pounds, I'd be shocked, right? But he plays a big guy. Like, I mean, he plays him really well. He moves heavy. He does, like, everything about him feels realistic in some ways. So no, and that's the thing, like, it's the same thing that you always find when people that, women that aren't pregnant are playing a pregnant woman, they don't move right. And, like, pregnant women waddle like crazy, but he gets that movement. I mean, obviously he's got the club foot, right? But he gets that movement so authentic, and he feels like slightly handicapped as a result of, his weight and his foot. But it works really, really well. Yeah, I'm interested. This is the most interesting show that HBO has put out in a while. Ever since they did they changed over to Max and everything that they did. This is I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I didn't think that I would, particularly given all of the long running issues we've already talked about it at times in class about how much DC has convoluted all of their storylines. But this one, in living in the Batman sphere, not in the the Dark Knight universe, really feels like it works. Like it's actually legitimately connected to the storyline. So yeah, it's certainly worth a watch. And I hope the visual effects turn out well along the way. You can get away with a lot of things that are shot in the dark, which it is a lot. So, it's a really well worth it. Did you guys see anything in the trailer that you thought was interesting? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, well, okay, so I mean, as a character, she is like the Falcone family, right? And so she is the sister of one of the characters who is part of the story from the get go, and she's the daughter of, like, the main head of the mob, right? But she's been in Arkham Asylum, right? And so she's yeah, yeah, exactly. So no, it's certainly worth a watch. I'm it's the first show in a while. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can't wait to see the next episode. So anyway, are you talking about it was in the trailer? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. You're watching. Yeah, there's a couple of the daylight shots that are a little bit rough. I mean, I don't like, I really don't like criticizing other people's visual effects work. Although it's so easy, sometimes you go, oh, yeah, that shot's not great or whatever. But every show has them. I don't care whether you're a feature film or you're a TV show. Every show's got some bad things that just make it through because of time or budget or what have you. And there's a scene, and if you're watching the show right now, Juan, there's definitely a scene in there where he's with this kid that they're putting this body in the trunk, and it's like, you just look at the surrounding buildings, and it's like, ooh, yeah, that just needed a little bit more time, to cook. So, but all things, what they say about movies is no movie's ever done. It just escapes, and it's like when they say you're out of money, you're out of time, you hand it over and you're done. And then they deal with the consequences of things that aren't working or whatever. So, yeah. And you can get away with that stuff. I mean, you can get away with a lot of things that are dark, but when it's in broad daylight, sometimes it's just a little bit hard to deal with. But all of that said, what's that? One more time. Yeah. Yeah, they color time it to feel dark or blue or something like that. Yeah, so it's really worth watching. And like I said, it's the first time in a while that HBO/Max has turned out something that I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. And I never thought it would be a DC property, but it actually really works. So Collin Farrell does a great job. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, they've certainly they're developing a long running storyline that makes a lot of sense. And and as far as HBO goes and their history with with the Sopranos and whatnot, it makes a lot of sense actually. Like you can look at that and go, yeah, that certainly is an HBO type show. So, but yeah, Colin Farrell was way better than I expected. I never thought that. My wife was watching it with me. She's like, well, why did they just cast a guy that looked like Tony Soprano, like James Gandolfini? And and sometimes you have an actor that goes, no, I want that. I really, really want to do that role. And when they do it and they really own it, sometimes it's brilliance. And so, anyway, I'm interested to see what happens next. So, he is actually. Yeah, I would say. I mean, he usually, oftentimes he plays kind of the pretty boy criminal, but he's got enough grit to him that you can go, yeah, okay, I'll believe that. So I've forgotten that one actually. Mhm. I remember the movie. It's um Jennifer Aniston. Yeah. Was he the he was the love interest or something like that? Is that or that he was the horrible boss? Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, absolutely. That's funny. Yeah, no, I mean, I have a lot more respect for him as an actor after watching this. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. That's a challenging role to do, and so I can see that being a real hit actually. So anyway, well, I get the feeling that that's what this is about. I get the feeling that that's about setting up a character for the next movie because it feels like it could absolutely go there. Now there is literally no Batman whatsoever in at least in the first episode. I would be shocked if they don't bring Robert Pattinson in at some point in this, right towards the end, to bridge that gap between TV and the film role. There's got to be another one. Yeah, I would. It would make sense. It's like bringing Luke Skywalker in to some of the TV shows on Disney Plus, right? Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this is fascinating. With the Batman, yeah, I did. It was a hard gear shift for me from because quite frankly a pretty big fan of the Dark Knight version, the Christian Bale version of it, and so it was hard for me to go. okay, wait, why are we doing this with? It's not Ben Affleck, and it's okay, Robert Pattinson. Okay, cool. I guess that'll work. I guess we've decided we're going a new direction. That's fine. Um, in retrospect, I did actually really like it. I liked there were some brilliant shots in there. I'm a big fan of cinematography as an overall, right? And there were some shots in there that were absolutely brilliant that I thought. And so, as an overall story, I'm like, okay, this is a totally different take on Batman. It's not Tim Burton, it's not Christopher Nolan. It's certainly not 1960s television, right? Um, yeah, I thought they did a good job. I mean, if this is the direction they've chosen to go, I'll I'll be interested to see if the plan is to marry the Batman with Joker, right? Because those two do not, at least they didn't make an attempt to bring those two together, right? And so I've often wondered what universe Joker is supposed to be living in. I mean, because it's a similar look, certainly, right? Different directors, but like it would make sense if they brought them together. And so we'll see. The Joaquin Phoenix one, and it's like because that's been for me a little bit of the confusion in terms of the overall Batman universe. It's like okay, so there's no longer Christian Bale, there's no longer Ben Affleck, right? And so now we're at Robert Pattinson, and what exact universe does Joker live in? Is he in the Ben Affleck universe? Is he in the Robert Pattinson universe? And there was some stuff at the very very end, I think of Joker that they were trying to make some illusions, but it wasn't really clear. And so, the second one comes out. I want to say at some point here in the fall. Joker Part 2 comes out. They would be really, it would be really silly for Warner Brothers and DC to not try to bring these two together. That would be, I mean, it would be like throwing money down the drain if they didn't. So, they've, yes. See, like in the same way that Marvel figured it out, right? From the get go, and that you could tell, like from Iron Man, the original, right, till where they ended it. They had a plan. They absolutely knew where they were going with it. They knew they were going to fund 20 plus movies, and they had figured it out. They knew what the story arcs were going to be and all this stuff and blah blah blah, right? But DC has never gotten their acts together well enough to really coordinate, all of the right universes, and it's like so, we have, Justice League, and we've got, we've got Christopher Nolan operating as an executive producer with Zack Snyder on, what is now the dead version of DC. But he directs the Dark Knight, but then the Justice League isn't supposed to be in the same universe as the Dark Knight because we're using Ben Affleck as Batman, and it's like the whole thing is weirdly confusing, and so yeah, and then we've dropped Henry Cavill as Superman. I mean, probably the best Superman I've ever seen in my life. I mean, yeah, he's built right, and so that became this weird thing, and so Warner Brothers really needs to work, I think, to try and marry this one, like Penguin, the Batman, and with Joker, and if they get it right, it could be an absolute smash hit because Joker was a fantastic film. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I mean, like, and what was crazy was Todd Phillips, the guy that directed it, was a comedy director. He was like, he did the Hangover was kind of his claim to fame, and so he goes from comedy to this really intense drama, with the Joaquin Phoenix, and it's like, wow, you nailed it, dude. Like you really, really nailed it. And so hopefully they'll do the right thing. I haven't done any reading on it to see if whether or not they're going to actually do it, but I hope they do. Okay, cool. So we're not that far away then. And I would have to imagine that if it's in a week or two, right, which it is, that there is going to be some connection between Penguin and the next Joker, because it would be too, they would have to time these two shows out at the same time to make it right. So that makes a lot of sense. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited, and this was a great kickoff to it. So hopefully, if they do that, I think they've got um, a real shot at actually kind of taking the whole Batman universe into a new direction. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna wrap this up and do stop my sharing. All right.